What's up, Geeky Gecko fam? The long and awaited video tour to our visit to Iguana Land is here. Look how cool this looks. The animations are great. Ty is great. The staff is great. The animals are fantastic. Stay tuned for an awesome video. All right, first up on the list is a Rotan spiny iguana. This looks similar to the panda iguanas, but it is not. It is a completely different species, and Ty has a lot of species of iguana, which leads us to this beauty right here. This is the Isla San Esteban spiny-tailed iguana, which its scientific name is Tinosaura conspicuosa. How cool is that? Sounds like something out of Harry Potter, but this, look at the blacks and the whites on this. This is clearly probably one of my favorite spiny-tailed iguanas, and I would love to have one of these one day, but thank you, Ty, for owning this and showing it off. These are the most popular kind of spiny-tailed iguanas that we see in the hobby, which are called banana pectinata. They are just so cool. Here's a female. You can see how it differs from a male, and this is actually a pair of male and females that were kind of showing a little bit of breeding signs. You can see some are going to appear to be more yellow or yellowish orange. That's just selective breeding. You could hold back the best each year, and you can see this guy right here. He's kind of showing interest. She's just sitting still like, hey, if you want to, I'm down. But he winds up just kind of looking away and not doing his thing after that. So, but banana pectinatas, these are the most popular in the pet trade. I think they run about $1,000 a piece for babies. They grow to be about 2.5 feet. And as you can see, very tameable, very manageable size, beautiful banana bars, black and yellow coloration. They're just awesome historic creatures. Can you see the giant dinosaur down in the dirt? I'll give you a second to see if you can make it out. We're going to actually come back to this species because I did not get a good shot of it here, but later on in the video, we have tons of good video of these guys. All right, moving on from iguanas for a while, we have one of my truly favorite species in the entire world. This is called an Argus monitor. They do something called tripoding, where they stand up on their back legs and their front limbs are actually up in the air, chest in the air, neck in the air, where they're just kind of like looking for anything that they can eat and surveying the land. They're truly amazing animals. If you look at his forearms, they are gigantic, like Hulk Hogan's or something. And he's coming over to me right now, probably thinking that I have some food for him. There is a fun story I can tell you guys about me, a 4-foot Argus monitor, my mom not knowing I had it, and a large cage that we had hidden in our basement. Ask me sometime and I'd be happy to tell you that story. Now, monitor lizards are also called goannas in Australia, so I just wanted to show off a little bit of extra footage here. Look at the beautiful gold coloration. And now that I think about it, I don't remember if this is actually an Argus or there's like other types of sand monitors that are very similar in the family, but all really similar and cool species of monitor. Okay guys, I have to contain myself here. When I was growing up watching Steve Irwin on the weekends, because that is what I wanted to do, the Parenti Australian monitor was by far my favorite monitor lizard, and it was impossible to legally get in America. Well, Ty got his hands on a couple of them. I believe one of them was indoors that we were looking at, and the other one here was outdoors. This is truly an amazing species. Not many zoos, not many people, not many anybody in America has this, but Ty has 2 at his facility and they are awesome. Now, these guys are more common in captivity in America. These are crocodile monitors, and I don't really know why they call them a crocodile monitor. Maybe it's a little bit of the head ridges that kind of remind you of a crocodile a little bit. Maybe it's the fact that they kind of live in and around water, but unlike a crocodile, they have these gigantic claws that they actually use for climbing trees. So even though they are big-bodied animals, they actually climb in the trees and jump out at their prey or people or anything that's hunting them. And in Indonesia, where they're from, they will often eat whatever they could get their claws on. Fish, meat, birds, anything like that. Now, even Florida gets a little cold in the winter, so he actually has these large rooms that he keeps them in when it gets cold. Now, here's an example of exactly what I was talking about. It's up high in the trees. Look at that. That's taller than me. I'm close to 6 foot. I'm a little under 6 foot, but this was way above me, and this is a big-bodied animal to be climbing that high. I actually have some really good up close shots of its scales and stuff, I'll show that now. Here we go. Look at this gorgeous, gorgeous animal. You know, it's always been a dream of mine to have a croc monitor, but they do require a ton of space, and so maybe for the future, but for now, I will enjoy ties. And look, they're just so alert. They receive data and information with that tongue of theirs. They look for food, they look for threats, they look for friends. I mean, these guys actually have been proven in captivity to be extremely receptive and trainable. So keep your eyes peeled for more of these guys in captive settings over the years. Really cool species. So now we are about 1/3 done with our tour, and we made it through the bulk of the iguanas and monitors.
Beautiful mural.
You could hear how I was just in awe of this mural. Whitney was just in awe of her opportunity to take a break because it was like 95 degrees, 90% humidity, beginning of summer. It was pretty hot. Okay, now this is the next big section of lizards that he has on display at his place. This is called a Campeche spiny-tailed iguana. It's the smallest, I believe, of the spiny-tailed iguanas, at least of the ones that I saw there. It really has this beautiful kind of like blood red tones and giant like pine cone like tails with giant spikes on it though. I think if you are going to get a spiny iguana, this would actually be a good one to look into because of their relatively small size. They were kept in groups, so it does look like they do well in groups. And then just like any iguana of the spiny tail orients, I believe that they're going to be predominantly vegetation and insectivores and probably omnivores to a certain degree. But look how small it is compared to this cage. There was quite a few in here though, and I'm gonna kind of show you, and let's see if you can find the different Campeches. Look at the blue face on it though. This one looks kind of tired. He just wants a nap, but man, I mean, these guys are pretty cool. I'm going to do a little bit of a close-up here on this one. Maybe this is a female because it's a little bit darker. You can see my zoom was a little bit off there, but it's kind of fixed now. And unlike humans, most animals in the animal kingdom, the male of the species is more colorful and more elaborate. And you can definitely see that with a lot of reptiles. And so maybe this one was a female. I'm not quite sure, but it was a very cool species in general, and it made me think, do I want to get a Campeche spiny-tailed iguana? Maybe. All right, now this is a species that actually is not known to many American hobbyists. It's a little bit more on the in-depth hobbyist side, not necessarily the mainstream side. So these are actually Australian water dragons. You could tell that they're Australian water dragons because they have those red bellies. This, I can't remember if this is a male or a female, but they're very cool. Prehistoric looking for sure. All right, now this one is a little bit more common in American markets because they are imported a lot from Asia. So this is a mangrove monitor. I was not able to get very clear of a shot on it, but I don't think I got this in the video, but I actually saw this monitor eat a tokay gecko. It caught and ate a tokay gecko that was in its cage. It was absolutely crazy. My wife and I, Whitney, we had just finished recording and walking by this guy's cage, and then a second later I just hear a bunch of thrashing and I go back to the cage. Sure enough, this guy caught a wild tokay, and here you can really see, this is the most up close shot I could get, but beautiful colors on these. They are not very tame, but people are starting to work with them more. Speaking of tokays, look at what we have here. I don't even think this was actually a tokay cage exhibit. I think they're just rampant in Florida, and so they happen to be living in and around the other reptiles. But tokays are so beautiful, aren't they? And this is a big, chunky, healthy one too. Okay, it was at this point that Whitney stopped me and said that an iguana was bobbing at her. So here we go. We were trying to get it to bob again, so but close. I think it was all bobbed out.
He almost did it. Oh, he might do it.
What's up, boy?
Oh, he's rubbing his skin.
If he does.
Okay, now when it comes to frill dragons, there's actually two kinds of frill dragons as well. There's the Australian kind and the Indonesian kind. The Australian kind tend to have more red pigment, and I believe they are a little bit bigger as well. They're kind of like the higher end, more sought after by like extreme hobbyists rather than the common hobbyists, but I don't remember which one this was. It looks Indonesian possibly to me. They're still, both species are very cool, and I would love to have either one day. All right, now this was a cool one. We were trying to get a good picture with Whitney here. I believe this was a white throat monitor. Later in this video, guys, stay till the end. This is not clickbait. We have an amazing feeding video with a black throat monitor and one of the employees that was there. But for now, this is a white or black throat that was just hanging, chilling in the cage. Pretty cool species. Whitney's pretty brave. Okay, now although this was not part of his zoo, these are just wild anoles. They were so beautiful. I was trying to get a close-up. Let's see if the color actually comes through, but they were like brownish red, shining in the sun. They were covered in spots. This one's the female, I believe, up there, and then the one that I'm showing down first over here, that one's the male. You can see it has bigger crest and just a bigger body overall. Now, you guys know my infatuation with sailfin dragons. I mean, I think these guys are going to become more mainstream and popular once people know how to take care of them. They do have this terrible habit of bashing in their face when they're kept in like screen cages or glass cages. They can be somewhat trained out of this. I've seen some people who use 3 solid sides and then 1 pane of glass. If you follow us, you know that we keep ours in grow tents, which is 4 completely closed sides, and the grow tents are soft. But look at the colors on this thing. This is actually, I believe, to be the new reclassified Weberi. I think this is a female. She has some face bashing damage from her past there. But just imagine if they didn't have that face bashing, and they're going to become more popular as people learn how to prevent them from bashing in their faces. I mean, I've pretty much learned it. You keep them in a grow tent and they're good. And grow tents are so inexpensive. Guys, these animals are great eaters. You know how some reptiles are picky eaters? That is not these guys. So now I actually changed my statement. This is the female. The earlier one was the male, because the males, again, like I said earlier, much more colorful. So we have some more scenes to show of these guys. Let's check it out. All right, so he actually had quite a few cages of sailfin dragons. This one I believe to be what they now call the amboinensis, which is just the general sailfin dragon. There's a lot of crosses, a lot of hybrids, but there is about 6 to 7 different species of sailfin dragon, and this would be one of the smaller species. Even though this is not a small animal, it's 2.5 to 3 feet. The other ones get massive, 3, 4, 5 feet long with giant crest and giant fins. Guys, I can tell you their claws are very sharp. You might not think they're sharp, but they touch your skin and they're gonna cut you up pretty good. But sailfin dragons are not biters. They actually don't bite. And you can see I'm trying to play around with the camera here and try to get some good up close shots of its emerald green skin and just its really dinosaur, dragon-like, Godzilla-like features. We have about 14 sailfin dragons right now. We have 1 of this species and then 13 of the Microlophus and Celebensis. Amazing. I'm going to be raising these guys up and doing so much more content of these guys. There's the female down there that does not have the big spine on her back, and these actually look like they might be hybrids because they are a little bit bigger than the true amboinensis. There's also been a lot of reclassifications of sailfin dragons. For example, the amboinensis used to be called Weberi, and now they're called amboinensis, which they're both kind of fun names to say, but I guess I like to say amboinensis more than I like Weberi. They are a bit jumpy, a bit flighty, but if you get them out, oh, you can see this one's actually head bobbing. I forgot. I was like, what are you head bobbing at? He saw another male. And they're actually very humidity driven animals. Florida, 95 to 100% humidity, and Ty Park still has glass panes over their screen to help hold in humidity. This is my dream too, to kind of make a filtered pond type situation with our sailfins, so that'll be kind of the direction that we're going with our captive care in the future. Look at this. How can you not like this? And better yet, I still have more video. I spent a long time looking over all of his sail fins, and he did have like 4 or 5 different cages of sail fins. So this is much more similar to what I would call the Amboinensis. It is a little bit smaller, and so maybe this is a true Amboinensis right there. All right, 2 more videos, I promise, guys. This was just a good opportunity to get a close-up of the Amboinensis. This is like Finley, which is one of the girls that we have here. They're just this emerald green coloration, really cool scales. Let's look at the last video. Now, I will admit, this is not very easy on the eyes, but again, like I said, a lot of what Thai Park has are surrenders from other people that couldn't take care of them. You know how it goes. You buy something and it gets too big and you have to surrender it. So he is part sanctuary as well. Now, it does look like there's Philippine possibly sail fins in here, or these are actually Microlophus. Okay, so I thought one of them was a Philippine and the others were Microlophus, but they're all Microlophus. Look how still these guys are sitting. They are truly like birds, the way they look at you. Now, this guy has about half of his face rubbed off. They just don't get it. Sail fins, for as smart creatures as they are, they will run into glass and rub their faces raw. So it's really important to cater to them in a way that they're not going to do that. Another bucket list species of mine, the caiman lizard. Now, these are heavily imported, and some people experience issues with parasites and them dying in captivity. So we do need more captive programs of these guys, but they are a phenomenal looking animal. They have these bright red heads with like yellow green bodies, and they truly look like a caiman or alligator crocodile. So I mean, they are very rightly named the caiman lizard. They eat snails and fish and omnivorous type things, but if you can get your hands on one and you have the space to be able to take care of one and the passion and the will, I think they are one of the most rewarding animals. I don't have one yet, but I've watched a lot of videos on them because, you know, I'm a reptile nerd and I like to watch videos of cool reptiles. But so I've seen a lot of people who do have these and try to take care of them, and yeah, I mean, they require a lot of space, they require a lot of water. If you know Billy Rose from Mutation Creation, he has a beautiful captive cage that he just built. Awesome species, love them. All right, here we are kind of wrapping around towards the end of his lizards, which a lot of them are big monitor lizards. So I don't remember the name of this particular species. It might have been some kind of water monitor species. Maybe I'll show it in the video, you know, because he has name tags on every single part of the cage. I don't even know if these are 2 males mating or 2 females just, you know, out for a date in the city. But see, there's the name tag right there. I just can't read it. I believe this one's called like the sulfur water monitor, or a variation of that. You know, I've seen sulfur water monitors in person, and obviously, you know, other breeders that have them, and they do have that kind of like yellowish tone to it, but this one had so much more. And so maybe this was like a subspecies of the sulfur water monitor, or just a really great example of it, because this one has a ton of that yellow, which is kind of where the sulfur monitor lizard gets their name from. Look at him, he notices we're there. Again, all of these species that he works with are trained by people to eat from tongs. And so when they see you, they definitely think that there's an opportunity for food. And if you know anything about monitor lizards, they are absolutely ferocious when it comes to food, and they will go for it. There, you can see the owner, one of the caretakers, is actually walking by feeding some of the other animals, and this guy's going nuts right here. So they're really cool species. They require a lot of space, a lot of care, but if you have the space for that, really rewarding, I would imagine. All right, now this was an absolute gem to see. I do believe that this was an albino water monitor, and there are a couple variations of albino water monitors. I believe there's a T negative and a T positive, and basically what that means is the T negative, if I remember correctly, that will have the highest expression of albinism, and then the T positive will actually have less of an expression of albinism. It'll be a little bit more like lavender compared to white, if you want to look at it that way. So this one might have been breeding. You can see a little bit of you know, scratches and cuts on the head, or it just cut itself, you know, thrashing around the cage like monitors do. But amazing species again. You know, I've always wanted a water monitor, and a black dragon and an albino are definitely on my bucket list, so thanks for having them, Ty. All right, here's an example of that awesome name tag system that Ty has. So this is a Southeast Asian water monitor. It is an albino. He doesn't specify whether it's T negative or T positive, but look at the beauty of this cage. I would love to have a place like this one day, and we are planning it in Arizona. Okay, now I know I've said favorite and bucket list a lot during this episode, but truly this was my second favorite, if not tied for my first favorite monitor species growing up, was what's called the Bell's Phase Lace Monitor. So if you know anything about lace monitors, they're basically like aberrant, jagged, striped, black and white or like creamish animals, but the Bell's Phase actually has lines like horizontal banding, kind of like a leopard gecko, and they just have this really awesome contrast. Look at the stoic look on this guy's face, or gal's face, sorry. And we definitely have some more footage. I think there was another one in here as well, but this was the main one that we were able to catch at the moment, and you can see it's just getting some rays of sun in the later afternoon day of the nice Florida weather. And yeah, I mean, what more can I say? What do you guys think about this? It's hard to see. This one particularly is in shed, but if you look up Bell's Phase Lace Monitor, when you see that black and white contrast, there's nothing like it, truly. You know, sometimes all the extravagant species and subspecies get the attention, but this is actually just a normal water monitor. And these are still very popular in the hobby. You know, in my opinion, I think that they shouldn't be imported and sold so cheap, especially how big they get, but that's just kind of the where the market is right now. But if you can actually house this, amazing animal. Talking about amazing species, look at this rock iguana, scientific name Cyclura recordii. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but look at its blood red eyes. This was not labeled an albino, however, it has these red eyes and it's truly amazing. It kind of reminds me of the red-eyed devil rats. You know, we actually breed our own rats. I think in Europe they call them the Mertens rats, but their nickname slang is the red-eyed devil because they actually have gray fur, sometimes even dark gray fur with red eyes. They are not an albino, but they do still have the red eye mutation, and so it's an amazing thing to see. We're also going to take another look at the animal on the ground over here, and so you can kind of see this one on the ground. I don't remember if this was another one in the cage. It's hard to see the red eyes from here, so maybe this was another one, and maybe the males have red eyes. I'm not sure. I didn't get to talk to Ty about that, but amazing looking creatures. Rock iguanas in general, the Cubans, the rhinos, and a few others, definitely on my bucket list. Okay guys, this was a real treat. When I arrived at this section of the reptile zoo, I actually saw one of the biggest black-throat monitors I had ever seen in real life. It was a recent surrender, and we're going to listen to the employee actually talk about this particular animal a little bit as I ask them questions, and they do a live feeding. It's really awesome. Check that out. Is this a black-throat?
Yeah. It's actually a true black throat.
Yeah, he's really
not
black.
Well, I mean, technically it is now.
Okay.
This was the old school locality.
Oh, really?
Yeah, these are the black throats that actually get black.
Yeah, he's super black. He's a pretty nice guy.
We just got him yesterday.
Oh, did you?
So, he's still standoffish, but so far nothing too bad.
Oh yeah, he still wants to eat. There he is. Smells that right away, huh? Was he a surrender or?
A donation, I would say.
Yeah. Nice. Dang, he is just massive. What do you think he is, like 7 feet long?
I wouldn't say that much. Probably more like 5.5, 6.
Yeah, he's big.
The previous owner said when he's back to full weight, he weighs about 45 pounds. So
Yeah.
hefty. And actually, it's a she.
Oh, okay.
She's calling it a he. I mean, look at it. It looks like a boy.
Do you know if the females of this species are typically like a little bit longer and heavier than the males, or?
I want to say it's the other way around. I think the males are bigger.
Okay. She crushed that thing. That's awesome. So that's chicks then, or?
These are quail.
Quail. I just want to take a quick second to say, imagine if this was your job. How cool would that be? Nice. She put on a good show for the camera. Does she have a name yet?
They called her Big Girl.
Okay, yeah, that's rightfully so.
One last one.
Nice. Perfect. Should keep her happy for a little.
Oh yeah.
Do you feed your monitors on a weekly schedule pretty much, or a couple times a week?
A couple times a week. When it gets real super hot, you know, and everybody's super duper active, we up the feeding to about 3 to 4 times a week. We'll do, like, if we're doing 4, we'll do real small meals 4 times throughout the week, just to keep them, you know, just so it's not like every time I come in here to change a water bowl, they're not like running down.
Yeah, that makes sense. Man, amazing. What's the coldest winters that you guys get out here?
I was born and raised in Florida, and the coldest temperatures I've ever experienced was 29 degrees.
Okay. So you guys leave them out here for that, but you have the rock warmers, I mean the heaters in every cage, right?
Yeah, so, and then also on those really cold nights, we lock them inside their box.
Oh, I see. It has a lock to it, yeah.
They don't know better. They're as intelligent as they are. They'll still come out when it's 30 degrees outside, and they'll die 2 feet away from the heat.
Yeah. And those heaters don't get too hot? Because I'm thinking of using those for me out in Arizona.
Yeah, so they're Zoomed habitat heaters, and I think they have an internal thermometer that keeps them from going above 116.
Okay. So the animal could lie directly on it, pretty much. Nice. All right, so that concluded our large lizard section of the tour. Now, there are some rhino iguanas and big rock iguanas that we will take a look at, but I decided to take a second and go to his turtle section. If you know anything about Ty, he is huge into turtles and tortoises. A matter of fact, that's why I actually get to see him and say hello a couple times a year in Arizona, because Arizona has some very passionate turtle and tortoise people, and Ty is a passionate turtle and tortoise person, and he'll come out here. I believe these ones were called map turtles, and golly, I am not much of a turtle person, but look at these shells. I mean, you can't deny the beauty here. Or are these red air sliders? I don't even know, but he had, like, I think his goal is to have one of like every single turtle and tortoise, and I can't remember if he said that he has accomplished that goal or he's close to it. But man, I did not take many turtle and tortoise videos, so that will be for another time. But yeah, there you go, a Belize slider. So, oh man, so beautiful though, with the shells on it and everything. And then here were some other turtles that we were looking at. See, I was just kind of like quickly going through the turtles. There's the painted turtles. So I was just kind of quickly going through the turtles as far as the video is concerned. I only took video of the ones that really stuck out to me. There was like some albinos and stuff like that we'll show you in this video. And of course, those red ear sliders and like the map turtles, and these ones, they just were so beautiful in their own way, and so I took video of them. But he had tons of more turtles that I did not take video of. So if you are a turtle person, oh my goodness, I cannot stress enough that you need to go see him. All right, after some nice B-roll footage, here is the albino red ear slider that I was talking about. Look at that color. I don't know if you guys are familiar with turtles, or someone who is can drop a comment below. How rare is an albino red ear slider? And look, the red on the over the ear actually really stands out on the albino version, making it very clear why they are called the red ear sliders. So if you guys like turtles, what do you think about this one? Would you want an albino red ear slider if you could? I don't know, maybe talk to Ty. Maybe he's got some babies in the mix. Maybe this is a one of a kind and you can't get your hands on it. Okay, now this is what I was talking about when I said you have to visit his facility. He has some of the best naturalistic turtle enclosures that I had ever seen. Part land, part water. I think what we were looking at earlier with the red ear sliders and stuff, maybe those are turtles that actually require higher amounts of water versus other turtles that actually require a little bit of land and water. Ty knows his stuff though, and so he actually created these very beautiful structures and fully planted areas for the turtles. I watched his video actually when he was building his facility, so that is actually on YouTube. If you want to watch, you can actually see how he built all of his different enclosures, from the iguana enclosures to the turtle enclosures, everything. And later on in this video, you're actually going to see new areas of his facility that he is adding, and so we'll show that to you later. As if owning the largest reptile facility in the world was not enough, he also has a pretty impressive koi pond. And so in the building of his facility, I remember him talking about this koi pond. There's also some cichlids there. I think this is pretty amazing. You know, I actually started out with fish almost at the same time as reptiles growing up. I would say I was definitely way more into reptiles, but fish caught my attention too. Piranhas, Oscar fish, I was definitely into all of that. Now that I'm older, maybe I'll get back into fish. I could see myself getting into some piranha, but this koi pond was truly amazing. I think at certain times of the year, he'll allow you to feed them and stuff, but there's like some cow koi in there, some like tricolor koi. I don't know all the morphs and mutations, but it was a beautiful stopping point and place to take a rest for a bit. All right, I told you we would be back to some big lizards, and these are his rhinoceros iguanas. Now, when it comes to your rock iguanas, there's a few pretty popular species that people like to keep in captivity. The rhino is one of them. They kind of have this bluish, grayish hue to them. You could see that there is some blue on the spikes there, and they are kept in these giant cages, and there was quite a few of these cages, so there was definitely a lot of rhinos to see. Some of them were out basking, some of them were just, you know, laying around a little bit. The other rock iguanas that are pretty big, I startled this one right here, are the Lewisii hybrids, which is what he's known for, and the Cuban rock iguanas as well. I would say those are the big three when it comes to rock iguanas. And again, they're just big-bodied animals that mainly survive completely off of fruits and vegetables. But they do have very sharp teeth, and they are very trainable, which is good. So you want to make sure yours is trained. Look at that. That's a smart idea. He actually has holes in the tray, and I bet you he does that so that moisture does not build up in the tray, like when it rains or when his misting system goes off. Pretty smart, Ty. Pretty smart. Again, I've watched all the videos of Ty Park that I could find, and so I've seen his explanation of how he breeds his animals, how he designed his cages, how he built everything, and it's pretty amazing. I mean, this is like a 30-foot cage. It's pretty gnarly. And then he builds these masonry, concrete hides with heaters in them, like I was talking to the employee about, that actually just house them over the winter. And so he had a massive amount of electricity running through his facility. Alright guys, believe it or not, we're getting close to the end. I don't remember what kind of tortoise this was, but if you know anything about Ty, he does collect his rare tortoises. And so if I had to bet, I think that this would be a rare one. I just don't remember the name that was on the tag, but it was in a gigantic, like 50 by 50 foot enclosure. It was phenomenal. Look at this cute guy. So the way that we went about his facility, I actually missed some lizards, and so I was wrapping back around to some of the lizards that I missed, and I caught a glimpse of his future rock iguana and cyclora iguana enclosures. Look at these guys. They're like big, giant, naturalistic rock enclosures. This looks like something that Steve Irwin would do. It's pretty amazing. You know, I watched a lot of Steve Irwin growing up, and his parenti monitors and just the way that he kept his reptiles was very similar as far as like just a naturalistic type open air enclosure that's just really tall so that they can't get out. And you can see a little bit of the rhubarb and the meshing and the concrete and how they're putting this all together, but this is built to last for sure. And this was earlier in 2023, so I think by 2024 it might even be done. All right, now I had actually not heard of this rock iguana, but this was called the Sister Isles rock iguana. I'm sure it's like related to maybe the Cuban, and maybe it's one of the islands off of that area, but pretty cool. All right, guys, we finally made it. Our very last reptile that we're going to show, but we got some fun content to show at the end of this video, so stick around. This is an Anegada rock iguana, and so I had never seen one of these before, but Ty loves his rare stuff. Just a nice little touch. He actually had a very futuristic and clean setup. So you can see that he has black lights underneath the soap and also under the hairdryer, showing you if you missed any bacteria or viruses. Pretty cool, Ty. This was next level for sure. All right, so this was the very end of our trip with Ty Park over here. You can see I asked Whitney to take a picture on the iguana, and so we got that picture taken. And then there was some cool like artwork on the way out. There's a rhino iguana like we were just seeing the live picture of, and here is a green tree monitor or a black or a blue tree monitor, but very cool. And then we'll take one last look at the place of Ty before we leave, and I have a bonus for you guys. So while down in Florida, Whitney and I actually did go to Universal Studios, and it was one of the best trips of my life for sure. Whitney brought these little stools. She swore by these little stools, and I told her I wasn't going to use one, but then I wish I actually had.